to do something that you loved and you learned. There, that's it. Now, next.
Hi everyone, it's Adrian Pangilinan here, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. And this is Soul Supremacy, where we talk about all things unapologetic, all things passion and in pursuit of. And as you can tell, I'm jittery because I'm excited, and I just had my coffee. But I'm really, really excited to have one of my favorite human beings in the world over here, Melissa Adau. How are you, Mel?
I'm really good, really good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm just really glad that we finally made this kind of collaboration happen because we've worked together as a mentor to student, teacher to student. But ever since I left Grossmont College, I've always been interested in working with her. I mean, I got to work with you actually after Grossmont, but even then, when I started doing my YouTube, I was like, I want to have Mel here in some shape or way. Years later, I think this is actually the perfect platform for it. Okay, so let me pull out my notes because I had to take notes. My notes over here. Okay, so Melissa Adau has over 20 years of experience with dancing, teaching, community building. That's definitely true. Community building, self-empowerment, and is truly a staple in the San Diego dance and hip hop communities. And on her website, she says that her mission statement is that you are never too old and it's never too late to start a new passion. And you know what, y'all? I can really, really relate and resonate with that because after I left SDSC when I graduated from college, as strange as it was, I got my degree in dance, my BFA, and I, like Mel did too, like we both worked hard at it. But for me, I just decided to take a different route than, for the longest time, I felt guilty about it. But then years later, I was like, I finally understand why I needed to separate myself from it first, not leave it, Yeah. Okay, yeah. So my first question for you, for the icebreaker question, is what are 3 things about you that people wouldn't normally know when they meet you for the first time?
Definitely my age. That's the first and foremost, that people who don't know me will either like look at my ID when I go to different places, and the first thing they'll be like, no way. Like they always kind of make that reaction. So my age is like the thing that shocks people, or they're just like, I didn't know you're 41. I'm gonna be 42 next month. Yeah.
Wow. Mel, you look like you're my age. I just turned 29. You look like we actually, you look younger than me. I'm
No.
And definitely feel younger too. Like I see your spirit and I'm like,
yeah. Well, to be honest, I think dancing helps me stay healthy and happy. And then, teaching face to face. I would always say this to people, like, I think teaching face to face to the college students, I'm like a vampire and like taking their energy and their youth. And that's what keeps me young, is being around, the students. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, but to answer your question, I think it's that my age, people don't know. Most people to be honest, most people kind of know, like, at least that I am a dancer. Some people also, another thing people don't know is that I'm a college professor, and that I've been doing this for I'm going into my 19th year, being a college professor. Yeah. And that I used to do industry in LA.
Wow. Okay, so actually my follow-up question is, so speaking of doing like industry work, which I know you did for like 2 years, some years, right?
Yeah, it was a long time.
Do you have any like who is your best favorite artist or person that you've worked with during those times of your life?
Ooh. Okay, it's not necessarily like a celebrity, but my favorite person that I like to work with and take class from, his name is Swoop, Swoop. And that was actually one of the choreographers for Taina. And I loved taking his class. And I I guess I wasn't like a fan, like, oh my gosh, when I got to work with like certain celebrities, I wasn't like, oh my God, but it was more like the dancers who I got to work with and the
Ooh,
choreographer or director that I got to work with. I
wow.
also really loved working with Michael Rooney. He's old school and he did a lot of work before. I don't know what he's doing now, but back then he was a big staple in the industry, and so I was really blessed to have at least one opportunity to work with him. So it's more like artistic directors and choreographers. I relish that than the experience of working with a celebrity. Because
Mm,
working with the artist, or sorry, working with the choreographer or the directors, that gets you longevity, not the artist.
mm. Yes,
Hmm.
ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. My next question for you is, what is your current state of heart right now? With everything that's been happening in the world, where are you? If you can say it in one word, how would you describe your current state of being?
Well, I don't know if I could say it in one word, but I can
Out of five.
say always a student.
Ah, yes.
Mhm.
That is something that yeah, actually, that's something that I always remembered from you, when I took your class. And actually, I will have to say, I forgot to mention this, and when I was like running over my notes in my head of like my spiel and stuff, I was like, I definitely have to give you credits for you properly teaching me how to groove and actually do hip hop in general, because you know how it can be sometimes when you're just copying, sometimes
Yes.
it doesn't make sense to you. But it really wasn't until like I was like, yes, even though I've been dancing for a while, I also recognized that I'm not like well versed at this, which was like urban, street dance. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna take your class. I took the 1-2 level class, and that was like, I mean, honestly, that was the best decision that I've ever made, because your class really helped me to furthermore become comfortable under my own skin. Like,
Yes.
I mean, especially kind of having been like trained, like classically trained in that way, where it's just like all about a certain, like kind of being and so like just being able to like just be like this, I'm like I live for that. So thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you. I think that's what a lot of the students, not only in the 2, 3, 4, but in the 1, 2, or just like a beginning level class, they'll say like they're learning basics, they're learning skills, they're learning technique, they're learning basics in hip hop freestyle, but they're also learning confidence and life skills that adds
Yes.
value to their life. And so it allows them to have more confidence to talk to people, to do well on job interviews, and just carry
Hmm.
themselves with a certain level of confidence. And I love that hip hop class gave that to them. So that I love
Yes.
that. Mhm.
Yes. And then, okay, my next question for you is, so we have two more questions for this round. So my next
Yeah.
question for you is, I know that we were kind of talking about it before we got started, but what does your morning routine look like?
Okay. Well, I try to be super consistent in my morning routine. So usually I'll wake up anywhere between 6:30 and 7:30.
Mm.
So it takes me a second to get up. Then I'll just make my coffee at home, and then I will craft my posts for social media. So I'm really trying to be consistent on posting on social media, and so I usually post at 8 a.m.
Wow.
And then I will get back to emails, and then my boyfriend will cook breakfast for us. And so we eat like as a unit. We always eat breakfast as a unit. And then after that, we just start our day. So whether I have a private, or I have to grade, or I have to do, like record stuff for class, or even me taking class, like that. But that's usually how I start my day. I used to fast until after like, I wouldn't eat till 3. But
Hmm.
after the pandemic,
Wow.
or since the pandemic, I've sort of changed my routine, and I try to eat in the morning, and then I'll take all my supplements that I need, so I'm like good for the rest of the day. And I found that routine has allowed me to, do well for the rest of my day, stay super focused. And I love having a routine in general, because it just keeps me like sort of, okay, this is what I have to do, and then it keeps my life sort of consistent in what I need to take care
Mm,
of.
yeah.
Yeah. When
Mal,
it's
that was. Oh, I'm
oh
sorry. Go
sorry,
ahead. Go. Oh, no, no,
I was
you
gonna
go
say,
ahead.
okay, when it's just like unpredictable or like different, then it's harder to get things done. And like how I mentioned how I used to have to set my alarm for 11:30, like I just feel like once I did that, like I don't have anything to do, or I can't do anything. I just wake up, teach, and then come back home.
There's
But
nothing left of your day.
yeah, there's nothing left. Well, also when we were face to face, I taught all day. So,
Yes, you
but
did.
being on Zoom, oh my gosh, it's changed everything. And I feel like this is the way I'd love to teach is Zoom because it allows me to travel, But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. Having a consistent routine allows me to stay disciplined. And if I'm disciplined, then I get the things I need to get done.
Wow. Mel, for some reason, I was so fed with that answer that you gave because I'm kind of like struggling. But just hearing you talk about that, getting your work, starting your day, being nourished with with a combination of your work, your love life, your personal. It's like everything. It's so well rounded, and you said it so concisely. I was like, I will listen to this again. I will listen to this again later and take notes. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, Mal. Okay, so my last question for you is for this section is, and I think you're gonna love this. I'm not sure if you've done this. Maybe you have, or maybe I just haven't seen it. But if Melissa Adau were to create her own dance TikTok challenge, what would the first move look like?
Ooh, gosh, I don't even know. It's well, I mean, every time I do something on a reel, every time like when I upload things on, so Instagram has reels now, which is very similar to TikTok, or sorry, not reels. It's a reel, but it's a remix. Sorry, remix. They have a
remix. Oh yes, you're right. You're right too. Yeah.
Yeah. So where you could go side by side and dance with the person on Instagram. And I always kind of do what I do when I go in the cipher, when I enter, I just kind of like squeeze it out. So I don't know, I'll play with something, squeezing myself out and then do what I want to do or do what I need to do. But I don't know. I mean, I just sort of like just show who I am,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Be outward. Be outward. Yeah, being outward.
But there's no particular like move that I do. Yeah, it's just whatever the music is making me feel. That's how I respond.
Oh my gosh, it's been a while since I've heard that, y'all. It's been a while. Do you know what's funny? I mean, not that okay, maybe I shouldn't say that, but my mouth wanted to say, catching myself saying that it didn't really matter. But this year actually like marks. It's been 15 years since I started dancing, and it's like time. Thank you. Time flies, and even though I kind of like I'm not really doing it like as full time as I did anymore. Like it's still like kind of going through my own kind of like life journey and stuff. I realized that I'm still always going to be this dancing penguin going like this,
Yeah.
Like it's never like I think for people that are watching, either watching on YouTube or listening to their the podcast version of this, like I know you know this too, that sometimes when people choose to step away and like start something new, like your mission statement. Wow, your mission statement. I guess it's like the opposite. It's like sometimes there can feel that guilt of like leaving or feeling like you're leaving something behind, an identity.
Yeah,
but
where we have to be careful. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I just want to finish that off saying that. But I guess in the end, what I've learned is that, first, we are never really truly attached to our identity, and second, it never really leaves us. It never does.
Well, I was just gonna say what you just said. That's why it's important for us to not get attached to an identity, because if it doesn't serve us, but we get attached to it because of the length of time we've been, invested in it. And it's almost like, I see it like a relationship. It's like, are we going to stay in a relationship if it doesn't serve us anymore? But then people just know us as being together and that we are a unit. So we have to like, when it doesn't serve us, we have to let go of those labels, titles, identities. And then just kind of dig deep on what makes us happy. Focus on that rather than, this identity, people know me by being so-and-so's girlfriend or this director. We can't get attached to that. Once we think like that and we hold on to it because of what we think the title gives us, then it's over. then it's done. Like it's like we're not going to grow because we're blocking ourselves from growing, thinking, holding on to that when it doesn't serve us except ego.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yep. That everything, especially the last part too.
Yeah.
Whew, ego, something
Yeah.
I'm like,
and you know, you're not the first one to say like, well, I feel guilty stepping away because I got a dance degree. It's okay. You got a dance degree and it helped you be the version who you needed to be once you got it. And then now you are this evolved person and you want to pursue something else. Getting a degree, the skills that you got, the skills that you learned as you got that degree is going to help you pursue what the other passion you're trying to get. So we can't, like, everything that comes in our life, we have the perspective, we have to see it as like, what did we take away from this? What is, are we learning? How are we a better version of ourselves, or how can we be better? And that's it. You know, like, not like, oh, I feel bad because I wasted all this money. No, you didn't waste money. You invested your life and your time to do something that you loved and you learned. There, that's it. Now, next.
Okay, interview done. She said, okay, I'm gonna walk by. Now, I thank you. And you know what, y'all, for those that are tuning in, like this over here is really what I do feel like, what I really miss, you know, being being in the dance community, but specifically like during the times that I've gotten the chance to work with Mel, which I'm actually super, super honored. You know, like, because at some point I was her student, and then she had asked me to like dance for her productions outside of outside of like a community college, like concerts.
Yeah.
You know, so professionally, and I was like, I was really happy to put that on my resume. So yeah. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we are ready to move on to the main interview because you are a busy, thriving, and very, very on the go woman.
Yeah.
And you said that you have a private AdSense, so we're not going to keep it too long. So my first question for you is, who is Melissa Adau?
Ooh. The short version that I could say is someone who is always hungry to learn, hungry to grow, always wanting to be better. But I also struggle within that journey. So being someone my age, participating, and I'm now speaking on like specifically as a B girl in this scene, in a competitive scene. I struggle. I'm always hungry, wanting to be better, wanting to do more for myself, but I struggle with being my age, competing with people who are half my age or more than half my age, that could be my daughter or my son, and then just kind of being in that space where it's like, oh my gosh, everyone's so significantly younger than me, but I can't think like that. Like it doesn't matter. We all do the same thing. They're probably not even. They probably have no clue I'm 41. They just see me. They're like, okay, she's a B girl. That's it. So I have to just take it on face value that like that's just how it is. And so, who is Melissa Adau? Melissa Adau is someone who loves to learn, loves to always be a student, and use those lessons to share with others who are just eager to be a better version of themselves. That's who I am.
Oh, thank you. I do have a brief follow-up question on what you just mentioned. So when you like catch yourself in that, like, because I'm getting to that point too where I'm like kind of in and out of like, oh, that kind of like that thinking. What do you do to like kind of snap yourself out of it, or to like kind of go through that?
It's hard. Because I've been in the choreo scene since like the late 90s. And, even back then there weren't a lot of youth dancers. And as I started to be on, in the choreo scene and started to get onto different dance teams, like the last dance team I was on was Super Galactic, and I was the oldest dancer. And I was being directed by somebody who was probably 9 years younger than me. And nothing wrong with that. The skill is there, but the mindset is still young, and so it was hard for me to kind of be around that. And even then I'm still learning, like it's okay. I think it's okay to be directed by or being directed by someone who's younger than me. I think the toxic part is thinking when I'm too old for something. Because it's so funny because just kind of observing how people in their early 20s, and I'm sure you've probably heard this, people who are like 23 will be like, I'm too old for this. And,
Yeah.
I'm too old for this.
Oh,
I'm getting old. And it's like, yeah, you are, because you're thinking you're old,
Oh.
but when we're around people, that's why it's so important to be around people who are our age or your age or people older that are doing the things that you love, because then you can get inspired by them and follow their journey on how they did it. So I'm always surrounding myself with people who are my age or a little bit older, because they're a model of the model person doing what I want to do, and they never complain about their age. Those are the people I need to be around. And what I love is me not complaining about me telling. So when I was teaching face to face, and I was, on the first day of class, how I always share a story during syllabus day.
Yes.
And, I would tell people my age, and they'd be like, you see the faces, how they're like super shocked. And then, but when I would say my age, I would say, now you can't complain. You can't complain about your age, because it's a mindset. You being 23 is not the reason that you can't do something. Your age is not the reason why you can't do something. It's your mindset. That's why you can't do it.
It's you. It's you.
It's you thinking that you can't do it, but your age is stopping you. So to change that, well, change your perspective, change the people you surround yourself with. And since I started sharing my journey and being super, super open with my age, specifically after 35, no one has ever complained in my class. But I would hear it a lot because, mind you, I started teaching when I was 23 at the colleges.
Wow.
That's when I first got hired at Grossmont. And so I would hear a lot of, I'm too old for this. And then, and I don't even remember how I would respond to it. But after being 35 specifically, I would be very loud about my age. And none of the students have ever used that excuse. I'm too old for this. I'm too old for this. Yeah, you are, because you think that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I definitely needed to hear that this morning. Yeah, but so I will have to say though that at 29 I do feel like even though I do catch myself like thinking that every now and then, I'm like, yes, I will have to say too that because kind of like being in a new chapter of my life, forging newer opportunities for myself with where I started, and I just feel like I'm like I not only I feel like, I guess, younger in a sense, but I also feel like I've just never felt more confident, and that's something that I know that you only get with age. I'm like with being, because 29 versus my 19-year-old self, who completely different. Would I want to go back to would I want to go back to 10 years? Definitely not. So on the other side of it too, I'm like, yeah, even though I catch myself thinking that, I'm like, but now I really had to go through everything that I need to go through to be where I'm at now and where I will continue to be. And that's something that really, like, age, I guess one of the only things really that age really does for you. Everything else is like, perspective and, yeah.
I was going to say too, and I also say this to my students, that your 20s are really hard, like no joke.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
you're living you're the 20s era. That era is really, to me, the hardest part of our life. And I've heard from other people say the same thing, like, because you're living life based on your lived experience, on only what you know, and so you have to like go through a lot of shit. For us to learn. And so, but there's something about when we turn 30, that something, either our mentality shifts or some magical, inexplicable mindset that happens where we don't care as much anymore, which we cared so much of things that didn't matter to us in our 20s. So once we hit our 30s, and I always tell the students this, hang on. I know it's hard right now, but once you hit your 30s, life gets a lot easier. you know, and it's a mindset shift that happens. I don't know if it's because we're just like 30, you know, but I just encourage people to hang on. It is hard. 20s are hard. And then I think 30s are also hard. But I think the older we get, life is easier because we're kind of more like, you know, grounded on who we are and what we stand for, and, what we love, and that, you know, not to sweat the small stuff.
Yeah. Having a sense of self, it's like more stronger. Yeah. I feel that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Mel, so oh, I'm speechless. Just kidding. Okay. No, okay. So I know we only have 20 minutes left. I still have like a couple more questions. So is it okay if we just kind of power through this? Like I have a lot of important questions that I want to ask you. Questions that I've never gotten the chance to like ask you personally. Okay. So next question is, if you can like just briefly talk about it. I do love to like kind of do this flex. Wow. Flex. No, I'm just kidding. This question. How did we meet?
Oh, I met you in class. That's what I remember. And you enrolled in my beginning class. And I know you participated in the concert. And we extended our relationship, our professional relationship, by me asking you to participate in Hip Hop Cabaret. And that's usually how I hire. So right now, like I'm doing the Ladybugs at the Safari Park, or whenever there's a gig that I'm given an opportunity to direct, choreograph, or whatever, I always ask my students first. I think of my students first because they put in the work, which is something you did. You know, I know your work ethic. I know how you are. I know your level of commitment and your skill, and you're fun to work with or fun to like have in class, and that's all I care about. You know, like. So whenever it comes to like that professional gig, you know, the Hip Hop Cabaret for the International Fringe Festival, like it was all students that I asked. All of them. Everyone was a student.
Yeah, that was still like, I mean, I passed like, I'm kind of like when I'm doing my work, I like always pass by downtown, and I like, you know, like every now and then I'm like, you know, that part of like downtown, you know, it's really left like such a special place, you know. Late nights, you know. Yeah. Thank you, Mel. Thank you. Okay, Mel. So my next question for you is, if you can just tell us a little bit about what was Mel like as a kid growing up, because we like know, I think a lot of us know you like with like the present, and even maybe like, you know, a little bit, but then like, how would you describe yourself as a kid?
Without going too deep, because this can be really long, I was, how do I say this? My parents were in the military in their own way, shape, form. My dad was in the Navy and traveled a lot and was gone most of my youth. My mom worked at the base in 32nd Street. And I lived in a, you know, Filipino household has extended family living there. So my grandma, my grandpa, and my aunt lived in the house with me. I shared my room with my grandpa, and they were the ones my grandparents are the ones who watched me, made sure that I ate, made sure that I had clothes, made sure that I was safe, made sure that I showered, you know, things like that. But I was not raised, if that made sense. So I was not taught any people skills, social skills, how to behave, how to be a good person, how to be respectful to elders, how to love myself, what it means to love. I didn't learn any of that until I was a young adult. So when it came to like, and the biggest takeaway that I'll share is that's why it was really hard for me to learn how to be in a relationship, because what I saw growing up is all I knew and all I accepted. And so when I got into new relationships, I had to really, you know, I had to fall face down a lot to learn what it was like to respect myself and how to be in a loving relationship or know what that's like.
It sounded like, from what you've said, it really sounded like you had to reparent yourself.
Oh yeah, I learned. Like I said, I didn't learn. I wasn't taught anything. I wasn't raised, you know, to be a certain way or anything. But I was taken. I was taken care of, meaning food, clothes. Made sure I was safe. Made sure I went to school safe. But once I got home, it was just like, okay, now you do what you want. Like, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing,
Yeah. Oh. Ooh. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes. I super resonate with that because, just the Cliff Notes version too. I think it's like there's something about like the different degrees of like love languages, and it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's like you could be this one person that looks for love in that way, but then if you don't receive it, but then they tell you that that's clearly blatantly tell you that's how they love, and it's just like
yeah. And,
okay,
mhm,
all right.
to add on, excuse me, to add on to that, and into my family's defense, um,
Mhm.
that's probably the only way they knew how to love. I
Mhm.
think, and in Filipino culture, the way they know how to love is: Are you eating? Or do you have clothes? Do you have a roof?
Shelter.
Okay, I love you. But like,
And that's
even
it. And I've helped you. Yeah.
yeah, and but my love language, and growing up in the United States, and seeing how other people are in relationships that I didn't have, like that, what I saw was more of my love language, like saying I love you, getting hugs,
Yeah.
getting praise, getting attention from
Mhm.
parents, saying, "Oh, good job, I'm proud of you."
Yes.
But I just know in old school Filipino culture, that's not normal, and they don't do
Yeah.
that. So I
Yeah.
had to learn in my early 40s. No, I'm kidding. I had to learn in my
Oh,
30s
oh, okay.
that I had to learn really, 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 really late in my
Mm.
life that my parents loved me in the only way they knew how to love, and unfortunately, it was something I didn't know how to understand, or I didn't know. I couldn't understand the way their
Yes.
love language, and even to
Yeah.
understand that that's their love language took me a while to
Yes.
get, because all I'm thinking in my head is data, yeah, like they don't know how to love me. My because of that, that's how my mindset was. But you have to keep digging and unpacking and like figuring out a way, like not to be negative, but what is it? Like learn about them. I had to even ask my aunt what was my mom like growing up,
Mhm.
because I don't like, my mom's a certain way and I don't understand why she's like that. So I'd ask my aunts, why is my mom like this? And that's it. And again, I hope this doesn't sound insensitive, but it is the truth. My mom
Oh,
is a certain way and I don't understand why she's like that. So I had to ask my aunt and uncle why my mom is like that. And then I finally got some answers.
yeah, yes, yes. What you just said over here is really like, especially as of late, like super recently, these are important conversations that a lot of
Mm.
Filipino Americans are having, which is, I think, in many ways, like helping pave way for healing. Because I would also say too that the way you reacted according to your circumstances was also not your fault. You know?
Yeah, and yeah, yeah, and I need
Yes.
to stop blaming for like all of my 20s.
Oh.
I struggled with like relationships. I would blame my parents, like, man,
Mm.
it's my parents' fault that I'm like this, and I
Ah.
had to really, like, it wasn't until later that I had to be like, no, it's my fault. It's just this is all I know, and so how can I
Mhm.
stop this?
Yeah.
So
Thank you, Mel.
yeah, you're
Wow.
welcome.
Oh, yes. Okay, Mel. So my next question for you is also in the Cliff Notes version because I know that your body of work is very extensive. We all know that. You've done so much. But how did you get started with dance?
Yeah, so I got into show choir in high school. I went to Chula Vista High School, and I was in the main attraction. So shout out to Tony Atienza and the main
Hey.
attraction. And I actually got in. From what I was told, I got in because of my dance and my performance quality. But I
Mm.
didn't know how to dance. I had no jazz technique, ballet, or anything like that. And so my senior year, I was searching for places to train, and I got into Nisha's Dance Academy in Chula Vista. And then that's how I got into dance. And then the rest is history. Then I just
Uh,
learned everything, and I tried to I try to get involved in as much as I can, doing, community performances, like where can I audition for stuff, and I would audition for everything in San Diego, and yeah, like that. But it was The formal training started when I got into MA, but in terms of how I got exposed to dance, that was like in the 90s or the late
Wow.
80s, like watching videos on MTV,
Uh,
Living Color, the Fly Girls. I would
ooh,
record Fly Girls and I would learn the routines on, I play the VHS tape
yes,
and I,
yeah.
yeah, that's how I learned. Like the way we have YouTube now, how people
Yes.
learn on YouTube, that
And
was
people
me.
and people complain, and people will complain about. I'm like, this is how. I mean, not to say that. I mean, I spent maybe like my teenage years, like kind of because shifting from like VHS to like DVD. but either way, I saw the Cheetah Girls, High School Musical. I like that was my first like.
Oh, there you go. Love
Yes,
it.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Um, did you go? Did you go straight to SDSU after you graduated high
Yes,
school?
I did.
You did.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my
Wow.
senior year, I applied to colleges and I declared dance as my major. Except to
Wow.
SDSU, I actually applied as a liberal studies major. Then I changed my major to dance, and so
Mm.
I got into the dance department. I think my second year of college, and then I finished the whole program in 3 years because I went to
Mm.
like during that time we had winter session, summer session. So I went to like Southwestern College for summer school. Like I was I was
Mm.
back to back to back. I was just trying to get out. Like I just wanted to be done. I just wanted to get the degree and then just dance.
Wow. Yes. Um, okay. I'm like, okay, thinking. Uh, can you, I know that would you mind just like briefly sharing your experience of like, because I also want to get into the present, which is like, you're such a, I mean, it feels to me that you feel so like different than like how I met you. But if you can like kind of briefly um take us through your journey of like I guess from college up until maybe the moment right before you got into breakdancing, because I felt like that was such a like a chapter of your life, which I think
Mhm.
a lot of us knew you by,
Yeah.
yes.
Um, so I'll try to say a short version.
I know.
But
Go to our website, everyone.
so
Just kidding.
I got into, the choreo scene in the late 90s. And then I moved to LA. I did industry work. I moved back, still involved in the choreo scene. And then I got hired to be an adjunct professor at Grossmont and Mesa College, still participating in the choreo scene, being on different dance teams, living the life that a dance team does in San Diego, which is, start rehearsal at 10:30 and get home at 5 in the morning. And then perform at different community events. Everything is not paid. This is all voluntary work of our energy and time. And continuing to be a student, going through my own struggles with like, am I too old for this? Am I good enough to stay in this? The choreo scene is evolving. I can't keep up, or it's harder to keep up. And I'm going to fast forward a little bit and then get into where I got hired to be a dancer for the Funky Monkeys. It was led by Sasso and Eddie, or primarily Sasso. He's on Roxo Fresh Crew. And we got to dance at the San Diego Zoo for Nighttime Zoo. And pretty much everyone on that cast is a B-boy or a B-girl, except me. So I was doing that for 3 years. And then my last year doing Funky Monkeys with them, I got bit with the B-girl bug because I'm like, all right, I've been doing the choreo scene. It's fun, but it doesn't give me the same thrill
The
in
same
the process.
juice.
The same,
Yeah.
I mean, it's exciting to perform, but like I just
Yeah.
wanted something different and I wanted to learn
Yeah.
something new. And it was exciting to see them break, but I couldn't do any of that. And
Ooh.
so what happened was there was like a dinner break where I was like, I want to start breaking. And then Citrus, which is the girl I was dancing with that day, was like, let me see your six step. And so it was shit, But then she was like, you need to go to open floor at Culture Shock. And so I did. And like open floor is not like class. So a lot of choreo dancers, when we go to open floor, we're like a little lost because we're used to someone telling us what to do.
What to do.
And then do it. But at open floor, you do your own thing. And so even for me to transition from that discipline and confidence of knowing I can kill it, but I only could kill it if someone tells me what to do versus going and creating my own, that took me a really, really long time to develop and to build confidence on. And so, and that was when I got into breaking. That was like 2017. No, 2016. I was 37. I'm going to be 42 next month. So I've been breaking for 5 years. And, like the hard part was not even the technique. It's the mindset, because I wanted it. Everything that I go for, I wanted it yesterday, but I have to be patient.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because example is like, okay, let's say I want to learn, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's like a move where you spin on your hand and you're upside down. It's called a 90. It's
are
like
you, are,
like you're
yes. Yeah.
You're spinning on one hand upside down. Okay. So that is, that move, it like when someone does it, it's like 1 second, right? But to learn that move isn't.
You have to do it slow. Oh my god.
No, it's not even doing it slow. It's building the strength and the technique. So to learn that, okay, can I do a handstand? No. Okay. Now can I hold myself upside down? No. Okay, so I have to practice against the wall. Well, to practice against the wall, I have to develop upper body strength. Okay, now I have to do push-ups. So you have to kind of like, there's all these little steps just to get to that move. So learning that move isn't just going upside down. It's practicing your handstands, free handstand, like not against, then with the wall, and then having so that, and even holding a handstand without a wall took me like 2 years just to hold it for 3 seconds. So that's the part where I'm still learning how to be patient. Is this dance, it's not like it moves, it's so much more. It's like there's so much physicality that I am learning very, very late in my age, and the recovery is long. So my recovery in my 20s, I can like go to rehearsal, not stretch, not cool down, go to Mexican food and still have a 6-pack, but today I have to rest. I have to stretch. I have to warm up properly, because if I don't, I'll get injured. And that already holds me back. Like it could hold me anywhere between a week to 3 months if I get injured. So I have to really, really take care of my body. If I want longevity and if I want to progress in the time frame that I want to progress, I have to train smart.
Yes, which actually, you really touch up on, like, because I think there's this notion that the harder you work, but it's really about the smarter you work. Yeah.
And training smart is something I learned only through breaking.
Yes. Okay, Mel, so we only have like literally a minute, but sorry. Can you please okay, so I was telling Mel earlier, I like bumped into her Instagram. I was like scrolling through, like, what has she been up to, like, in details? So can you please talk to us about 2024 Paris Olympics?
Yes. Okay. So as of December 7, 2020, the committee, the Olympic Committee, or whoever their organization is, and formally announced that breaking will be in the Olympics, sport in the Olympics, in the Paris 2024 Games. Okay. And so, but Team USA does not have a organized, sanctioned group to prep us or bring us. So a lot of breaking, communities in the breaking scene are applying to be the official group to prep us and to be the face of the breaking scene representing Team USA.
Wow.
And so that's where we're at right now. So like there are qualifiers, but I don't know if those points are gonna transfer when the new organization is officially announced. So right now, all we know is breaking is in the Olympics, but we don't know who's going to be the organization to take us there and how it's going to work. Are they going to do qualifiers? Are they only going to hand select? Are they going to do a private invitational to pick? We don't know any of that yet, because the official group has not been announced and approved by Team USA.
Oh, wow.
It's
so new.
I'm sorry?
Oh no, it's so new. Like,
it's very new.
Developed.
And skateboarding has gone through the same process. So I think the breaking scene is sort of connecting with the skateboard scene, because skateboarding is also an official sport for the Olympics. So I think they're trying to, since the culturally we share a lot of, we share a lot culturally. They're talking to them to see what is your process, and then they're trying to follow it.
Wow. Thank you, Mel. Thank you.
You're
Um,
welcome.
and good. I'm gonna be cheering for you as I've always had. Okay, so like what I mentioned earlier, we do have to we are powering through this for everyone that's watching. Uh, in a sentence or two, my final question for you is, excuse me, what legacy would you like to leave behind?
My motto right now is that you're never too old and it's never too late to start something. So when people think of me, of what I've contributed, or think of me in terms of, the breaking scene or the dance scene or culturally for both scenes, I would love for them to know that I was someone who never let age stop me from pursuing what I love, and that I did it with integrity.
Thank you. That kind of low key got me choked up. Okay, Mel. This is the time to plug. So where can people? I saw your links on your Instagram, but if you can invite people, everyone tuning in, new viewers, new fans, to follow you.
Yes. So you could follow me on Instagram if you want to follow my breaking journey. It's at Melissa Adau. So it's my first and last name _Mel. At Melissa Adau _Mel on Instagram.
Yay! Thank you, Mel. Thank you so much. We did it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Just in general for being open. Because I know some questions were a little like I know we didn't have time, but I so appreciated you being open enough to like answer some of the questions that were kind of more sensitive.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Thank
you. Yes. And everyone, welcome. This is Soul Supremacy, where we talked about all things unapologetic, all things passionate and in pursuit of. And let's say thank you to Mel for being here. She has to go, so thank you. Salamat, ate. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll talk soon.
This podcast show is a product of Studio Penguino. For more information about advertising, please visit www.adrianpenguino.com.